For centuries, flaws were not mistakes, they were proof. A handwritten letter trembled with the writer's fatigue or mood. Analog film grain gave texture to memory itself. These inconsistencies told us that something real had happened here. Someone was present in this moment. Something human touched it before we did. But then came digital tools that could simulate all of this. Better, faster, cheaper. Auto. Tunes smoothed out vocals until they sounded perfectly human. Filters turned smartphone photos into vintage film. Software added noise to pristine tracks, so they felt like they were recorded in the back rooms of a 1970s studio. Authenticity was no longer inherited. It was manufactured.
The raw, unwiltered moment in film is where truth reveals itself, not through composition alone, but in the flicker of a glance, the pause before.
Roland Barthes described photography as having a that has been quality, an irreplaceable proof of existence, of something that once was and will never be again. He called it punctum, the sharp detail in a photograph that pierces you unexpectedly, not by design, but by fate. But what happens when these piercing moments become data points to be optimized? When imperfection is no longer captured, but calculated for emotional impact? The camera's intractable resistance to abstraction, its stubborn refusal. We once trusted the photograph to show us truth because it couldn't lie. But if every element of an image, from lighting to emotion, can be algorithmically optimized, even down to the grain and noise, then authenticity becomes a design feature. Father's message without code is now a product with specifications. The camera's unique ability to freeze time in its raw state is being replaced by systems that simulate presence, not record it. We are no longer seeing what was. We're experiencing what feels real enough in a world where the photograph no longer carries the weight of its having been there. Truth becomes optional. The evidential force that once made photographs so powerful, their quiet insistence on this is how it was, is now drowned out by noise and choice. If anything can be framed as real, then reality itself becomes a commodity. Authenticity is no longer discovered through the photograph, but manufactured in its code. We are seeing not memory, but marketing. Not Neil Postman warned that in a technopoly, technology doesn't just serve culture, it becomes the culture itself. His fear was not of tyranny or collapse, but of seduction. People would simply forget there were alternatives to surrendering authenticity to machines. Today, we see his prophecy unfold as AI voices, deepfakes, and synthetic media replace human artifacts not with indifference, but with enthusiasms. Authenticity no longer emerges from experience or identity. It is manufactured by the speed to improve forgery detection, adding watermarks, fingerprints, and other digital signatures. They are met by equally sophisticated countermeasures. It's a feedback loop of obfuscation, where the goal is not just to deceive, but to redefine what counts as proofs. The battle between authentication tools and synthetic generators doesn't settle on truth or lies. It reshapes our collective trust in data, media, even memory itself. We are no longer defending authenticity, we are re-engineering it. Authenticity is no longer a byproduct of human creation, but a feature engineered for performance. The more convincingly an algorithm mimics imperfection, the more we are asked to trust it. This is not mimicry in the old sense. It's a calculated simulation of presence, memory, and soul. We have moved from authenticity as identity to authenticity as technical mastery, where the better the system simulates us, the more it demands we see ourselves in its output.
But that is the paramount importance of his invention. The fact is that nothing becomes as old as quickly as a new sound.
However, the workshop's younger musicians eagerly began to explore the possibilities of this new technology and produced some memorable compositions, such as this haunting music for Jonathan Miller's TV series, The Body in Question.
Authenticity no longer emerges from experience or memory, but is generated through algorithmic mimicry. In curated textures, synthetic flaws, and AI-generated nostalgia. Every crack in a vintage poster is calculated. Every handwritten note is machine-made. The signs of human touch are now software outputs. This isn't just simulation, it's the engineering of belief itself. When imperfection becomes programmable, what remains of sincerity? We no longer encounter authenticity, we consume its algorithmic stand. AI is framed as the Antichrist, a machine defying divinity. In others, its salvation, a tool of divine progress. The same artifact inspires both reverence and revulsion because we no longer know if it's real. We trust not what exists, but how something appears to have existed. Our deepest beliefs now rest on the most artificial constructs. If even memory can be modeled by an algorithm, then what exactly are we believing in?